You are about to view the imitation game. Not just any imitation game, but the sentence imitation game. Sit back, watch, pay attention, and enjoy. So, what is sentence imitation? Imitation, in general, is when someone models a behavior, then someone else copies it. Check out these examples. Some of these might be familiar to you. Did you ever try to imitate mom or dad? Remember when you were a kid and they were actually cool? You wanted to be just like them, and you did things just the way they did. Or maybe you had a big sister or a friend who you thought was really cool and you wanted to be just like them, so you imitated everything they did. When you imitate a sentence, you start with a model sentence. A model sentence is usually a sentence written by a professional, well-known, and maybe classical author. Here's an example model sentence from The Call of the Wild by Jack London. From every hill slope came the trickle of running water, the music of unseen fountains. The first step in imitating the sentence is breaking the sentence down into parts. The best way to do this is read the sentence aloud in your head or out loud and find where are there natural pauses. From every hill slope came the trickle of running water, the music of unseen fountains. Now that I've broken the sentence into parts, it'll be easier to imitate because I will begin by just imitating each part, but making sure that each part goes together to complete a sentence and it is grammatically correct. I'm going to identify the first section from every hill slope, and that is a prepositional phrase. The second phrase in the sentence, came the trickle of running water, is what you would call the verb phrase because it includes the verb. The last section, the music of unseen fountains, is an example of an appositive phrase because the music of unseen fountains further identifies running water. Now I know that to imitate this sentence, I need to begin with a prepositional phrase, followed with a verb phrase, and end with an appositive phrase. The sentence imitation should not have anything to do with the subject or topic or use the same words as the model sentence. I'm simply using the structure of the model sentence to imitate in a new sentence. So let's think of a prepositional phrase. Let's start with under the table. That's a prepositional phrase. Next, I need to imitate the verb phrase. Now take note that the verb phrase actually also includes a prepositional phrase. So I need to make sure that my verb phrase includes a prepositional phrase that will modify the verb. Here's my verb phrase. Rolled the meatball from my plate. Here you'll see I have my verb, rolled, the meatball, and my prepositional phrase, from my plate. The last thing I need to add is an appositive phrase, some other noun phrase that will further identify my plate. Here we go. The dish overflowing with spaghetti. So this phrase is an appositive phrase. It further identifies my plate. There is my sentence imitation. Under the table rolled the meatball from my plate, the dish overflowing with spaghetti. I've just imitated the writing of the famous classical writer Jack London. I hope that one day I can be as famous as him. Let's try another. Here's a sentence by John Steinbeck from the book titled The Pearl. The dawn came quickly now, a wash, a glow, a lightness, and then an explosion of fire as the sun arose out of the gulf. Can you remember the first thing we need to do before we can imitate this model sentence? Did you remember that the first step is to break up the sentence into smaller parts? The dawn came quickly now. That is an independent clause. That clause contains the subject and the verb. That could stand alone as a sentence. And then our commas help us to break up the rest of the sentence. A wash, a glow, a lightness, and then an explosion of fire as the sun arose out of the gulf. A wash, a glow, a lightness, and then an explosion of fire are all appositive phrases that modify the dawn. Finally, as the sun arose and out of the gulf are both prepositional phrases. Now, in order to imitate this sentence, I know that I need to write a sentence that begins with an independent clause or a simple sentence, then has 1, 2, 3, 4 appositive phrases in a row, and then 1, 2 prepositional phrases at the end. Remember that the imitation does not have to be on the same subject or have anything to do with the original model sentence. What you are imitating is the structure of the sentence, not the content or the topic. I'm going to start my imitation with the dog barked loudly. You can see that I have a subject and a verb. The verb also includes an adverb. I did not include now, which would be another adverb, but you could include an additional adverb there if you like. The dog barked loudly. Oops. Now I need my 4 appositive phrases. I've now added my appositive phrases. A guard, a companion, a German shepherd, and a best friend of man. These 4 positive phrases further identify the dog. You can note also that in the original sentence, the model sentence, we have a prepositional phrase in the last appositive phrase, so I included that prepositional phrase in my last appositive phrase. Now, for the last 2 sections, 2 more prepositional phrases. Alright, here are my 2 prepositional phrases. As a stranger peeked into the window. You can see that I used the same preposition as they did in the model sentence, which is allowed, although you don't have to. As a stranger peeked into the window, you can see also has nothing to do with as the sun arose out of the gulf. But I have now imitated this model sentence. I have an independent clause followed by 4 appositive phrases and then 2 prepositional phrases. I have to tell you that John Steinbeck is one of my favorite authors, and if I have any chance of writing like him, that would really, really make me happy. So now it's your turn to practice imitating some sentences. You will be given some model sentences, and you must practice imitating them. It's important that you practice this a little bit before you take the grammar test, because there will be questions on the grammar test that will require you to imitate sentences. Good luck, and as always, if you don't understand something, come see me for help. sentence imitation game.